thing I realised that really blew my mind is almost everything we think we know about addiction is wrong.
The war on drugs has been a damaging and ineffective way to handle drug addiction due to propaganda, misinformation, and a misunderstanding of what kind of person an addict is and why someone becomes addicted in the first place. The drug war has been allowed to exist and cause a tremendous amount of damage. As more research has been done, we are beginning to see how addiction really works. There are many factors that include how a person is raised and what experiences they've had. There is a clear understanding of how the brain is formed under such conditions, allowing scientists and doctors to more accurately understand what is going on. The solution is not incarceration. These people need help solving the deeper issues at hand in order to stop their destructive behaviors. While it was acceptable to treat addicts with incarceration before, there is too much research now to justify treating addicts the same way. It is time to rethink the true origin of addiction and help the countless people affected.
Jaden's 7 years old now. Jaden was born perfectly healthy. At 4 months old, Jaden had his first seizure. It was just a downhill road for the next few years. He's having 500 twitching myoclonic seizures a day. He'd have grand mal for hour and a half. I remember he was crying from 1 o'clock at night to 9 in the morning, screaming and crying in pain. He was seeing things. He was hallucinating from the medications. At 4 and a half, Jaden was taking 22 pills a day. He was at 25,000 pills he had taken by the time he was 5 years old. Jaden had tried 12 different medications. We had 40 ambulances. We were fighting with the insurance companies all the time. We lost our house, we lost our cars, we lost our business, we lost our family. I went to UCSF. I said, look, I don't think Jaden's going to make it another week. What do you suggest? They're all, I don't know. I would try anything. I go, what do you think about medical marijuana? They're all, well, like we said, you think we're at a life and death situation, you should try anything. So I said, all right. I went and picked up something I saw in a dispensary and came home. I gave it to Jaden. After 4.5 years of having myoclonic seizures, 500 a day, and twitching and head drops and seizing, the first day I gave it to him was, thank God, 1 million times. It was the first day he's ever went seizure-free in his life. Then after that, second day, third day, fourth day, the seizures were down dramatically. I could see his eyes lighting up. It was summertime. It was June 1st, the first day I gave it to him, 2011. He started swimming. Jaden's never been able to swim before. The sudden temperature change of water would give him a seizure. Boom, I put him in the front yard, and my neighbor's like, oh my gosh, we've never seen him in the front yard. They're so excited. They were cheering him on. I started weaning him off the medications after 1 month I was on the CBD. Every time I took him off, he would suffer for 2 weeks, and boom, he'd become more human. Then take off another pill, suffer for 2 weeks, boom, become more human. Jaden started chewing. Jaden was only eating Gerber food all the way until he was 5 years old. He started chewing. With taking 25,000 pills, it really wears on your body and brain, so it's kind of recovering more from the medications than from the epilepsy. And we decided to wean off the hardest one, benzodiazepines. He was having tremors, nightmares, brain zaps. I've contacted 30 different benzo withdrawal clinics. They go, how old is the person that's coming on that you want to bring into our clinic? I tell them 7 years old, and they scream at the top of their lungs. Every single one vividly say the same exact thing. You have a 7-year-old on benzos? Because we have people here that are football players. We have people here that are big, tough guys that are dying, literally dying from benzos, and you have a 7-year-old on it? As a 7-year-old, my son's been addicted to it since he's 16 months old. So now we have to figure out a way to wean him off by ourselves because the benzo detox clinics are not willing to take in a 7-year-old. Since we've been using the CBD, he's been doing amazing. It has under 1% THC, so it doesn't give you that euphoria. Second thing is it's abstracted, it's organic, we know the dosaging, the milligrams. We're in the forefronts of something huge. It's either you're gonna give up and just let your child be a vegetable and die, or you're gonna sit there and fight. I still haven't met Jaden yet. I know Jaden in 22 pills, but I'm down to Jaden in 2 pills. That's who I know right now. I don't know Jaden, but on medication.
Jaden is a perfect example of the faulty logic that dictates drug policy. Even though Jaden was not an addict of illegal drugs, This case speaks to the confusion, denial, corruption, or all of the above in the U.S. government. Where pharmaceutical medicine failed and actually caused an addiction problem for Jaden, medical marijuana helps. In the extremely polarized world of modern politics, it's no surprise no one is on the same page. For example, at the same time drugs like marijuana are put on the Schedule I list, meaning it has no medical value, the U.S. government is patenting the use of medical marijuana. This is completely ridiculous logic, negatively affecting millions of people. These are the stories people are less familiar with. Many see the drug war as a black and white issue when there is a gray area with many real victims caught in the middle of drug addiction and drug prohibition. While it may seem possible to produce change through the government, the best way to produce change for something like drug addiction is education. This is how America led the world in bringing down the use of tobacco, and it is how we will help drug addicts and drug war victims recover. The average drug addict is commonly thought of as someone who chooses to do drugs over other important things. It is hard for those that have not experienced drug addiction or know someone that has experienced it to fully understand the psychological process that goes on inside the mind of a drug addict. Addiction does not come from any particular object or action, despite how mainstream media will demonize anything wrong with society, especially drugs. This is a common tactic for lawmakers and drug war supporters, but if this were true, anything that has been abused before would be addictive to everyone now, no exceptions. In this world, most college kids would be alcoholics, every parent would be a sex addict, and everyone would be a sugar addict. While it is easy to see the logic with ridiculous examples, it is harder to understand the same logic applies to the stereotypical drugs. This is because the illusion is built on a half-truth. While someone on My Strange Addiction could be addicted to eating toilet paper, someone could be equally as addicted to heroin but have a different neurological reaction. We criminalize heroin for the undisputed scientific proof that heroin reacts with certain receptors in the brain that are responsible for the feeling of reward. Toilet paper does not have these rewarding effects. As if all the scientific exploration had been completed, politicians take this information and create laws. They are not scientists, just politicians trying to make laws that help society. We do not expect them to fully understand the needs and conditions of someone like a drug addict. We must seek the truth for ourselves. Addiction does not depend only on the substance or action being abused. Addiction stems from the mind. People will abuse any substance or action that makes them feel normal. Through mainstream media and propaganda, people only see the dramatized stereotypes of these situations. A famous experiment in the 20th century observed that a rat would overdose with laced water when also given the option of pure water. Another scientist looked at the experiment and pointed out that the rat had nothing to do in the cage. There was literally only laced water and pure water in there. He then made an experiment that included a rat park populated with other rats, various activities to do, plenty of food, and mating opportunity. These rats did not become addicted to the laced water even if they tried it occasionally. This is because the rest of the rat's psyche was fulfilled. This can be seen in humans as well. Very rarely do you hear of someone that's got everything going for them, doing well in school or at a job, sufficient friends, family, boyfriend, girlfriend, hobbies, etc., become overwhelmed with drug addiction.
And so when we think about these communities that we care about, the communities that have been so-called devastated by drugs and abuse, I believed that narrative for a long time. In fact, I've been studying drugs for about 23 years. For about 20 of those years, I believed that drugs were the problems in the community. But when I started to look more carefully, started looking at the evidence more carefully, it became clear to me that drugs weren't the problem. The problem was poverty, drug policy, lack of jobs, a wide range of things, and drugs were just one sort of component that didn't contribute as much as we had said they had.
So talk about the findings of these studies. I mean, you've been publishing in the most elite scientific journals now for many years.
Yes, so one of the things that shocked me when I first started to understand what was going on, when I discovered that 80 to 90% of the people who actually use drugs like crack cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, marijuana, 80 to 90% of those people were not addicted. I thought, wait a second, I thought that once you use these drugs, everyone becomes addicted, and that's why we had these problems. That was one thing that I found out. Another thing that I found out is that if you provide alternatives to people, jobs, other sort of alternatives, they don't overindulge in drugs like this. I discovered this in the human laboratory as well as the animal laboratory. The same thing plays out.
It's interesting to see or to ask who becomes addicted. People can have sex without being addicted to it. They can go shopping, but some people become severely addicted to all these pursuits. Is a pack of cards addictive? Well, no, or yes, depending on the individual. So it's the same process no matter what the addiction is. The only difference is that the substance addict is getting the dopamine from an outside substance, whereas the behavior addict is having it triggered from the particular behavior. If I speak to a group of 100 people or 1,000 people and ask, well, how many of you have addiction issues to any substance? A number of people put their hand up and they say, what did it do for you? Not what was bad about it, we already know that, but what did it do for you? What was positive in your experience with it? Well, it gave me a sense of peace. It gave me pain relief. It made me feel more connected. It made me more confident. I could speak now and interact with other people. In other words, the addict is just after wanting to be a normal human being. And the real question is, what keeps them from having those qualities in their lives and what happened to them? And so that the addiction should be seen not as the problem, although it is a problem, but it's not the problem. It's the addict's attempt to solve a problem in the first place. The adverse childhood experiences studies done in California looked at conditions such as physical, sexual, and emotional abuse in a child's life, the loss of a parent through death, or a rancorous divorce, or a parent being jailed, or a mental illness in the parent, or addiction in the parent, or violence in the family. And for each of these adverse childhood experiences, the risk of addiction goes up exponentially. By the time a male child has had 6 of these adverse experiences, his risk of having become a substance-dependent, injection-using addict is 4,600% greater than that of a male child with no such experiences. Why is that? It's because that trauma shapes the brain in such ways as to make the addictive substances more appealing to the individual. That trauma also gives that person the pain that they will try to then escape from or to soothe through the addictive behaviors. It's the social and emotional environment that shapes the actual biology of the brain. So if you understand somebody's addiction, you have to look at what created pain in their lives. So the person who occasionally has a beer, occasionally smokes marijuana, but genuinely have no negative consequences, does not impair their health, does not endanger their lives, it does not impair their personal relationships. You can't call those people addicts, and you can't call those behaviors addictive. So that we have to make a real distinction between the use of substances and the addiction to substances.
If all these painful and for others unimaginable scenarios can cause addiction, they need to be treated with compassion. The connections they lost or may have never had can be established now, helping them experience what the majority of us feel on a regular basis. The process of becoming fulfilled or happy is daunting even for someone not addicted to anything. Not everyone is going to find happiness in the same things, as there are billions of people on this planet. The human brain is one of the most complex things on Earth, changing and making itself better through millions of years of evolution. The problem of addiction is extremely complicated, involving various emotional components as well as physical and environmental. The solution of throwing addicts in jail through prohibition is a naive, unsympathetic attempt to help everyone else besides the actual addict. With the new age of the internet and in a world where it's becoming harder and harder to hide the truth, it is our responsibility to seek it. Even if you don't feel compelled to help these people, it takes little effort to have an open mind and reevaluate the cards on the table so that future generations can start from a solid, truthful base.